YouTube, how's it going? The GOAT House is back. And today I got my must drafts, my sleepers, and my steals for receivers and tight ends. Did the same video for running backs on the channel already, so if you haven't seen that, go check it out. And then we'll have more fantasy videos during this week. We'll have a few different mock drafts from different draft positions later this week as well. So a lot of fantasy content on the way. And if you want to join our fantasy league here, you actually go to that link in the description in the comments, patreon.com/thegoathouse, and it'll bring you to a page that looks like this, and you can click see all 4 levels. You go down to the GOAT, the final tier here. You get a bunch of different stuff, throughout the season, throughout draft season. And the main thing here we want to talk about is the entry in our fantasy league with the prize. We'll give a merch prize away. Some of you have joined it. Really appreciate you for joining along here. If we get a ton of people that join it, we'll create a second or more leagues there, of course. So I would really appreciate if you can just check it out. Again, there's a link down below, and that is how you get into our fantasy league. But we do have a 60K subscriber goal here. Want to try to hit that early in the NFL season, so really appreciate a subscription. Full coverage in season. We got weekly picks, score predictions, power rankings updated every single week, and plenty more. We have a Twitter. You're going to want to follow that Twitter for the NFL season. Instagram, and we have a podcast as well. Link in the description for anything that you may need. Let's move on here to my must drafts, sleepers, and steals. For the receiver position, a guy that I had last year here, putting him up again, and has a little more value this time around. That's Chris Godwin of the Buccaneers. Average draft position for receivers is around 6 for Chris Godwin. I've said Christian McCaffrey first overall, and this is all for PPR here. We're talking about seems like the most popular, obviously, scoring system these days. But Chris Godwin, well, I talked about Christian McCaffrey. I would pick first overall. Chris Godwin, really, to me, I would strongly consider with some of those other picks in that range. 2, 3, up to 6. That's the latest he should go. I'm that high on Chris Godwin. We've seen him really break out last year. Bruce Arians stepping in and kind of finding Chris Godwin that perfect role for him, which is mainly that slot receiver in Bruce Arians' offense, but he plays outside as well. And he's going to continue to do that. Second year under Bruce Arians, now with Tom Brady, and these are the types of receivers that Tom Brady really always targeted. He's going to get more receptions, more targets, in my opinion, than Mike Evans. I think it's a very safe draft pick as well. He's had one really good year, so some people might call it a little risky. I would disagree with that. Chris Godwin's a guy that I really, really want. And, you talk about the best fantasy players, probably McCaffrey, but you don't really want the first pick. Maybe some people do. I don't really want the first pick. I kind of want in the middle there, right in that sweet spot, and that's where I'm thinking dream scenario in that range of the first round. I get Chris Godwin, and that's where I start. That's almost my dream scenario there for my fantasy leagues. Moving on, Cooper Kupp. Average draft position around 15. The reason I like Cooper Kupp, he's just getting going in his career. He's getting better and better. He's a guy that can run any route, line up anywhere. You can give him a screen pass. You can get him downfield, middle of the field. And no more Brandon Cooks. That's big time for Cooper Kupp's stock, obviously. They do have Robert Woods. Robert Woods is very solid in the Rams system, obviously. To me, he's not getting any better, though. That's a guy that's going to stay the same, around that range. Not really getting any better. We're not going to see him get more targets, in my opinion, that he has been. Cooper Kupp is a guy that's getting better, and it's a passing game that is being built around Cooper Kupp going forward for the Rams. So I think that's a very safe pick. He was pretty hot early last year, and then it cooled down a little bit. So maybe that's something that sticks in your mind if you had him. I think it's a safe pick, though. No Brandon Cooks. They did add Van Jefferson, who's a kind of a polished plug-and-play guy, but is he going to be getting the targets Brandon Cooks was getting? No. I think most of that chunk is going to go towards Cooper Kupp here, and that's why I like him for sure this year. Stephon Diggs, another one. I also call him a steal. Just looking at the average draft position right now is around 26. I think Stephon Diggs is going to play like a top 10 receiver. Does that mean he's going to be a top 10 fantasy receiver? Not necessarily. But I think he's going to get the action. I think the Bills want to open things up more downfield, and that's why they traded for Stephon Diggs. Here is another reason. We know Stephon Diggs a little bit of a diva. If he's not getting the ball enough, he's not going to be happy. Now, you just don't go trade the amount the Bills traded unless you're confident that you have that game plan to satisfy Stephon Diggs. So they know for sure they are going to feed this guy the ball. Another player that's getting better and better, one of the better route runners in football. Another guy you can give a screen pass to. You can give him he's a very good deep downfield receiver there as well. I think he's going to be highly productive. I think around 26 for receivers is an absolute steal if you get him, few rounds in there. I mean, absolutely. There's receivers that I think, he's way better than that will probably go earlier just because, people aren't really sure are the Bills going to run the ball a ton. And then they didn't just trade that much for Stefon Diggs to just not air the ball out to him. So I like Stefon Diggs. Tyler Boyd is maybe my favorite draft crush here this year. He's kind of been the last couple years. Tyler Boyd, 31 average drafts. This is an absolute steal. Absolute steal here. It's a must draft. Joe Burrow in town, and I've been talking about it a ton the last several months. Tyler Boyd is Joe Burrow's Justin Jefferson from LSU. The guy that can play the slot, can also play outside. He's dominant in the slot, just knows how to get open anywhere on the field, any type of route. And Justin Jefferson led all college football with receptions last year, 111. It's so easy for Joe Burrow to hit those targets. You think Jamar Chase was his best receiver. I would agree with that. The guy's a freak, but Justin Jefferson had way more receptions, and if you're playing PPR, you're going to love this. It is the same style receiver, but Tyler Boyd is an improving, more polished NFL version of Justin Jefferson. It's going to be easy target for Joe Burrow here. It's going to be an absolute steal, and he led all slot receivers with most yards per reception, and he was up there in terms of receptions, in terms of yards. So he's already kind of that polished guy, that really good receiver that can play in the slot. That's an easy target, and that was with the mess the Bengals had last year. They had Dalton, they had Finley, they had Dalton, back and forth. So, I think this is a safe pick. It's a must draft, in my opinion, in the right spot, and it's an absolute steal. Tyler Boyd might be my favorite fantasy player this year for those reasons. And now if the offensive line for the Bengals can step up, I become that much more confident. I think they're going to have a field day out there. I mean, I think this is the best receiver. I think it's the best receiver on the Bengals. I really think it's the easiest target too. I keep saying that, but it's the guy can be involved in the quick passing game. Can get open anywhere on the field. I just love me some Tyler Boyd this year. Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown here, I think is a must draft. We see all the rookie receivers last year were huge. I mean, Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, these guys were dominant, right off the bat, and it's such a great draft class. And Hollywood Brown was very good, too, and he missed some games, but he wasn't really on the level as those guys quite yet, but he was the first receiver taken for a reason. He's going to be on that level or better. You can't base a lot off that one season, even though he was very good. He added the right strength, which resulted in weight, gain, which can help him stay healthier. He can take more hits. But we've seen him down the stretch of the season, too, be more of a threat, and Lamar Jackson and Marquise Brown, developing more of a connection there. And some people thought they could go receiver in the first round or even early rounds. They didn't really do that because they have a legit receiver one here. So they're gonna use him a ton. Another guy, I like these guys that can be used in any way. I'm not just gonna draft a guy. I'm not gonna fall in love with a guy that's just a deep ball or a contested catch guy, just a screen pass guy, just a slant guy, only a slot receiver. I'm not going to draft those. I'm not going to be I probably will. Everyone's going to have to draft somebody like that, but I'm going to be more in love with the guys like this that can take that screen pass and can take it to the house or run down the sideline for, just a fly pattern, just Lamar Jackson can hit like we seen last year in the back of the end zone so many times. And even the ones they didn't, really connect on, they were going for a ton. So I like Hollywood Brown a lot here. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Just some minor injuries popped up last year. Brandon Cooks, I like around this range. About staying healthy, but people always kind of tag him with that. He keeps getting concussions. He hasn't really missed that many. He's missed games, but he hasn't really. The way people talk act like he plays 6 games a year, and that's not even close to the case there. Why the Texans traded for Brandon Cooks is because he fits their offensive system so well, and the type of receiver, the speed deep threat receiver, is what fits them so well. We see when Will Fuller's in there. That just works out so well, and it opens things up for everyone else. So they go out and get another version, maybe a better version of that in Brandin Cooks. So he's their guy. They trade a lot for him. They traded, maybe more than people expected, and he's their guy. And I think he's going to be electric in this offense. And I like him, around that 36 average draft position range. It looks really good for Brandin Cooks. Almost want to call it a steal, but you do worry about him missing some games. Then let's talk about Will Fuller, who has a better average draft position. I call him more of a sleeper, not really more of a must draft. They're pretty close, Cooks and Fuller. They may split the receptions, perhaps. I trust Cooks with the health a little more. We see how dangerous Will Fuller is in this offense, and they, when he plays, people that have owned him before in the past know how dangerous he is fantasy-wise as well. So I still like Will Fuller. I think they were kind of playing it safe a lot of the times, so I'm expecting more healthy this year. I wouldn't be surprised if we missed some games, but I think they were kind of playing it safe. They know that it was the future of the receiver position for them. He was still young. They didn't want to do anything major. He was never really hurt in college, so I think now's the time where I think he could start to be healthy, hopefully. So Cooks and Fuller could be very dangerous for that Texans team there. So I call Fuller more of a sleeper. Jamison Crowder I like as a sleeper. Everything I've heard from training camp from the Jets tells us that Jamison Crowder is by far the best receiver of the Jets, like not even close. Another one of those guys you can catch in the slot, outside, could run any route, can get good in the red zone as well. So I think it's kind of a safe pick down here as well. You hope the passing game improves. Darnold full year, and you expect Darnold to kind of step up. So I think Crowder down in this range a pretty safe pick. And even though people might write him off because they added some, I like Denzel Mims a lot as a prospect. So far, it sounds like there's no one really even close. Jamison Crowder's the guy. He's the number one guy, no question about it. So I kind of like him down in that range. Then we got Preston Williams, who was hurt last year, and he was undrafted last year, but I had a second round grade on him, and pretty much everybody knew he was very, very talented. The only reason he didn't go the reason he did go undrafted is off the field issues. My point of saying this is because some people out there probably want to write him off because he's not really supposed to be. He's kind of a nobody compared to those other rookie receivers last year. That's just not the case. He is very, very talented. And he was looking that way for the Dolphins last year before he got hurt. So I think he'll be big time this year. He is the clear-cut second receiver on the Miami Dolphins after Devontae Parker, and average draft position all the way down at 53. It's another one of those guys where he's a really good contested catcher. Will be used in the red zone, on those fades, and he'll rack up some touchdowns if he's healthy. But he kind of can be used all over the field. He's more athletic than people give him credit for. So I like Preston Williams. It's about staying healthy. There's really nothing in the past that builds up to saying he's injury prone or anything like that. And it really doesn't matter. I think Fitzpatrick starts week one, but I don't think the quarterback really matters for Preston Williams. People probably say, well, he takes a hit if Tua's not playing, because everyone I think is in agreement that Tua's kind of the better option. But, remember Devontae Parker really broke out with Fitzpatrick, and Devontae Parker's more of a downfield contested catcher, and that's where Preston Williams is kind of going to make his money there as well. So I think he works with Fitzpatrick, or either quarterback, that is. Jalen Reagor, I like. A little earlier in this process, I probably would have called him a must draft, and it's kind of borderline for me. But it is scaring me a little bit because there's so many receivers for the Eagles that week one, it wouldn't surprise me if they lined up for the first snap on offense that Reagor's on the sideline. So that's why it scares me a little bit. But why I almost want to call him a must draft, because I think he fits the system. I think he's perfect with Carson Wentz. He's another guy that you can give an end around to, you can give a screen pass to. He is excellent downfield, route running downfield, and the speed. You can hand him the ball in the backfield, which I think they'll do. Actually. So that's why I really, really like him. But again, why it's a little risky is because they can use so many different receivers, but on the upside again, Alshon Jeffrey's injury concern, Deshaun Jackson has injury concern. He's a similar style player as Deshaun Jackson, so a lot's kind of riding on that. So I do like Reagor. He can be one of the more productive rookie receivers. CeeDee Lamb was my receiver one in the actual NFL draft, and he's going to be very good. He's going to be really good, I think. He's going to play a lot in the slot, but he's going to have to split with some other really good receivers. Reagor, to me, my opinion. People disagree. I think he's the more overall talent-wise, even before he hasn't played yet. I think he's the most talented receiver on that Eagles roster. People will disagree. That's what I think. It just matters how much they use him. And I know by the second half, this second part of the season, down the stretch, they're going to be using him a lot. I'm confident about that. How will they start? That's kind of the question. Definitely a sleeper. If he gets the opportunities that the other rookie receivers will, he'll probably get more action than those guys in terms of receptions. And again, they can use it so many different ways. Another rookie receiver, Justin Jefferson. I think Reagor and Jefferson, they weren't the best in terms of my big board or my prospect rankings. They weren't at the very, very top. They were towards the top. I like them very much. But I think they actually could be towards the top out of rookie receivers for fantasy this year. Justin Jefferson's replacing Diggs. Is he going to be as good as Diggs right away? No. But he's an easier target. He is the guy that you can line up anywhere. He's going to play a lot in the slot. And the Vikings like small ball. They like running the ball, like getting quick passes. That's what Justin Jefferson could do. He's very good deep as well, but that's what he's going to do. They're going to give him... I think he will have more receptions than Adam Thielen this year. Adam Thielen might have more yards. Adam Thielen will be known as the better receiver. That's for sure. Jefferson might get more receptions. And if you're playing PPR, Jefferson... very solid option here, and they like him that much. Kubiak, who's calling the offense, keeps raving about him. So I like Justin Jefferson as one of the top fantasy rookie receivers this year. I think it's a safe bet. They like to run the ball a lot, but I think Jefferson makes them. It sounds crazy. This is the way the Vikings think, though. I think Jefferson makes them want to pass more than Diggs did. And Diggs was unhappy because they didn't pass enough, mainly to him. I don't blame him. I've talked about that in the past. But Jefferson, I think just being such a simple, easy target, put him in the slot, give him a 2-yard route, and give him the ball. That's appealing to the Vikings, and they will pass the ball more, I think, because of that. It's just a prediction. I'm confident about it. Next, we got Parris Campbell. It's a risky sleeper here. I've been hearing some really, really good things about. I'm getting excited. I've been hearing some good things about Parris Campbell in training camp. And last year, we see a very good receiver class pre-draft, and even when the draft ended, and then in the season, that was proven. All these guys are just tearing it up, dominating. Guys that were drafted the second, the third round, a bunch of guys just tearing it up, fantasy-wise, but mainly on the football field. And then we're left wondering, what happened to Parris Campbell? Where's Parris Campbell? I felt like this was an easy target, get him kind of any kind of throw there, and he can go to work there. And they kind of didn't really use him a whole bunch. And now they get Phillip Rivers in there, and I've been hearing great things in training camp. Phillip Rivers likes him a lot. They're realizing he's a guy that you just get the ball to anyway. So Parris Campbell he'll have a much better year. That's almost a guarantee. And last year, he's almost non-existent at times last year. It's a little risky, but because they have T.Y. Hilton and Michael Pittman are probably expected to be their top two guys. And the Colts are kind of weak at the top of the receiver position, but unless T.Y. Hilton stays fully healthy, then I wouldn't call him weak at all. But in terms of depth and rotation, they're actually pretty strong. They got a number of guys that can rotate in and play. So that's the scary thing here. But, I think Campbell will work so well in this offense if they just give him a shot. So banking on them giving a shot. And I trust that because the reports coming out of training camp here. Next, some tight ends. I'll put Austin Hooper up here. They paid him a ton of money. They made him the highest paid tight end until a couple other guys got their contracts, of course. They did this for a reason. Stefanski's offense, a lot of running the ball, and then that'll turn into play action. And play action, easiest targets, sneaky targets, tight ends. So Stefanski will want to get the ball to the tight end here. Austin Hooper, they will target anywhere on the field, not just in the red zone, but he will be targeting the red zone. And I almost think it worries me a little bit because they have those running backs. They have Odell. They have Jarvis Landry. So they got to split so many targets. I'm almost worried for those receivers because the running backs will get the action at Stefanski offense. But I almost think tight end is priority 2 there. I really do. They're going to be real sneaky with the play action, especially in the red zone. They'll almost favor Hooper over an Odell Beckham on a fade route in the end zone. Do I agree with the 100%? Maybe not really, but I think they will. They had to go out and get this guy for a reason. He was a fit, and they're going to favor the tight ends here, mainly Hooper, who is clearly their number one. So that's definitely a guy to look out for. Next, TJ Hockenson. You guys probably know by now I'm a big TJ Hockenson guy. You just look at the draft last year, prospect evaluation. This is one of the better tight ends I've ever seen. Total package guy. You can hand him the ball even. That's the bonus. But he can block. In fantasy, people don't really care about that for fantasy, obviously. But that kind of adds to his game. But he's a very good receiving threat, obviously. Short game, medium range, long game, everything there. I think he's a steal here. I think he's going to play if he's healthy. He had some injuries pop up last year. But this guy, talent-wise, is got top 5 tight end written all over him. He hasn't done it yet. He's only in his second year, so people will disagree, but things change. People always step up. It's a risk, I suppose, but this guy is extremely, extremely talented. So I think this is a must draft in this range, and I think it's a steal. So TJ Hockenson definitely a guy to look out for breakout season in fantasy player as well. JONNU Smith I like a lot. He's kind of solidified himself as the Titans tight end, and we've seen them use him in different ways. Another guy, you can hand him the ball, you can give him a screen pass, they get creative with him, but then he kind of proved his point at catching the ball downfield and a contested catcher in the red zone, maybe on those fade routes. So JONNU Smith will get yards and he'll get the scores. He's proven that, and the Titans kind of, last year was a little scary because they have Delanie Walker, like who's their guy? Walker actually, obviously got hurt, but JONNU Smith, they know is their guy. They feel is their second best target in the passing game after A.J. Brown. So I think he is much better than 17th tight end here, and I think it would be a very good pick. He's going to be highly productive this year in this Titans offense. Chris Herndon is a sleeper. Another guy that I've been hearing really good things about at camp. I've heard that they're top. I talked about Crowder earlier in this video. He's their top tier receiver. It's pretty clear. And then Herndon is probably that second option in terms of receiving, and obviously their number 1 tight end. So they like what they're seeing from him. Very athletic, very talented tight end. I think these Jets guys, I think they're not going to be drafted high because I don't know if we fully can trust that offense, whether it's Gase or Darnold fully. It's going to get better. But these guys I also view as not top tier guys, but safe picks in this range. So Herndon can be a sneaky good pick. Could be a pretty darn good tight end as well and climb his way up in the ranks in general. Next, Dawson Knox, I think, is a sleeper. They started to get him, just a rookie last year. They started to get him going more and more. I think Diggs kind of stretches the field out, spreads the defense out really, and that will and they have the running game. Teams are going to fear the running game because they ran the ball a lot, and teams are going to fear the deep ball with Diggs, and that kind of opens things up for the middle ground there. Dawson Knox, I think they'll use a lot. Maybe some play action, maybe, routes 5 to 10 yards, but I think he'll get a lot of receptions, a lot more than people are thinking. And they don't really have a red zone receiver, really. Not that anybody's bad, Diggs can be solid there. I think Dawson Knox should be used. I think people are going to be stacking the box, expecting run, and that's where the play action is going to come in, and they're going to get the ball out to Dawson Knox. I think that's kind of going to be their key red zone target there. And then one more I got here. I think is a sleeper and a steal. I'm liking it more and more. Devin Asiasi, the Patriots tight end, rookie tight end from UCLA. They've drafted a few options here. So in the Patriots, you never know. When they have a lot of options, they'll surprise you and just throw some random guy in there. But I'm pretty confident about this one. It's a very athletic, talented tight end. They're going to get the ball to a lot. They like this guy a lot, hearing good things out of training camp. So I think this will be a steal down here. I think, playing with Cam Newton, we know how much Cam Newton liked the tight end in the past with Greg Olsen, and Cam Newton's play mainly went down because he was playing injured, but his play went down when Greg Olsen was in there less and less. And now he comes in here with this rookie tight end that's going to be a plug-and-play type of guy for the Patriots. And in the receiver position's kind of a question mark. Edelman not getting any better, but very good still. More of a Brady-type receiver, but he can be for Newton. N'Keal Harry, can he take that next? I'm confident with him. Can he take that next step? Sanu looked very underwhelming last year. I think there'll be a lot of production here for Asiasi here, the rookie from UCLA. So that's definitely a major steal down here. Could be a top 15, maybe a top 10 tight end possibly. I'm not saying he will be, but I wouldn't be shocked is what I'm kind of getting at here. So those are some receivers and tight ends to look out for. Going to make a video, kind of give them some ranks, top 10 or so for each position, and then we'll talk about safe picks, risk picks, kind of recap some sleepers, steals. my favorite pick player, things like that. We'll recap that here. Next video you'll probably see. And then we'll do some mock drafts, multiple different ones, picking one, picking in the middle, picking in the late, kind of give everyone different perspectives there. And then we'll have our normal rankings and prediction type videos releasing nonstop until the NFL season. And then we got our full coverage in season. So hopefully you can join us for that. I'm very excited. Please smash that like button if you enjoyed. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.